Welcome once more to the corner of conspiracy. Here we talk about a lot of variety of conspiracies. Some ones are short, other large, but always interesting. Don't forget that, friends.
Okay, we talk about for the club of 27. This club has become one of the most exclusive and remarkably tragic considered in rock and roll history. The term became widely known after Kurt Cobain's death in 1994, with the rock fans connecting his age to that of Jim Morrison, Jim Joplin, Brian Jones, and Jimi Hendrix. Though it was notable to fans in the early 1970s when those four visionaries died within just 2 years of each other. When Amy Winehouse passed away to age 27 in 2011, it attracted even more attention to the significance of the age. While the club has been very connected to musicians, it has expensive signs, as many young actors and artists have lost their lives though everything from addiction to suicide to freak accidents. Here are some of the unestablish and anonymity losses connected to the club.
We will talk about some of them, not all, because the podcast will be too large. So here are the ones that we consider are the most interesting. Brian Jones. Jones' death at his country home in England in 1969 seems to be the result of his foolish behavior. To mix alcohol and drugs, then dive into the swimming pool was to swim directly into the arms of death. As clear as this seems, the death of Brian Jones has become one of the most persistent mysteries of rock and roll, with many people questioning the official version of what happened. Even members of the Rolling Stones have expressed doubts, and still the mystery of his death hasn't been solved. Keith Richards has said, "I don't know what happened, but there was some nasty business going on."
Okay, Jimi Hendrix. In the early hours of Friday, September 18 in 1970, Will say stating with a girlfriend in London, Jimmy took some sleepy pills. Or piles? Nobody knows for sure how many pills or piles he shall know it, or whatever he understood that he was talking. The drug was Pesparax, a strong barbiturate. How the table was enough to put a man to sleep for 8 hours. Jimmy may have shown in many as 9. He had also been drinking. This was foul and reckless, but it was in Sharon. During his years on the road, Jimmy had into the habit of using drugs indiscriminately. Jimmy would take a handful of shit, not even knows what he does. His friends learning how he said.
Jim Morrison. The cult of Jim Morrison began taking off in 1979 when Francis Ford Coppola used "The End" in the soundtrack for Apocalypse Now. Part of the cult of Jim was the coincidence of him dying at the same age as Brian, Jimmy, and Janis. The 27 link helped reinforce the idea that Jim had been special. Taking his death was fated. That there was something weird going on. The fact that Jim's girlfriend had died at the same age underlined the weirdness of the coincidence. This legend was familiar to everybody, with an interest in popular music by 1994 when Kurt Cobain decided to join the club.
Okay, next for me is the most important in this artist is Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain's body has discovered by an electron on Friday, April 8, in 1994. The answer in the question posed by the authors of Who Killed Kurt Cobain is simple. Kurt Cobain killed himself. He did so with Sodet's self-inclined violence, uh, leaving reading evidence of the state of mind. Kurt Subast about concern remembered how worried the musician had been about losing his home in the loudest. Social people tend to want to make a standing nap station say. I just kind of left in the click himself in the house, as it's of say. You are not going to take my house, no matter that. No matter that, no matter what, no matter where.
Now it's turn for Pete Ham. After Kurt Cobain, the most notable confirmed suicide is Peter Ham of Badfinger, one of the bands the Beatles signed to their Apple label in the 1960s. As is the case with suicides, Ham reached a point where death seemed to be the only solution to his problems. He met bandmate Tom Evans in a pub near his home in England on the evening of April 24 in 1975, 3 days before his 28th birthday, and told him, "Don't worry, I know a way out." Fortified with drink, Ham went back to his home, wrote a note in which he expressed his bitterness toward his manager, and hanged himself in his garage. Evans hanged himself 7 years later. The 27 Club has been repeatedly cited in music magazines, journals, and the daily press. Several exhibitions have been devoted to the idea, as well as novels, films, and stage plays. Even other musicians have written songs about the club and its members.
Many people may maintain that there is something very strange about the deaths, and there is several theories floating around. One theory that is Starats made a static pack on sold their souls of talent and fame, and that the dead would be paid in the 17th years of 27th years of age. This was linked to Robert Johnson, the first recorded member of the club. While some astrologists believe in the effects of the planet Saturn are flat at 27, which causes reckless behavior and therefore increased the chances of death. There were more members of the 27 Club, but we think these are enough for today's episode. If you are still interested of the other, watch our next episode. Goodbye.